Hey guys, so Crypto Sunday, and after a red week in the stocks, as noted yesterday, this has more than made up for it. Can't go on forever, I'm sure, but yeah, about 14% up, £31,000, so rather nice. And let's have a look why. So, seemingly wanting to get out in front, Blackrock have sort of jumped the gun. Before the Bitcoin ETF gets approved, they have filed for an Ethereum ETF, it's looking like. They've sort of done their initial filings that they did before filing to the SEC, same as they did for the Bitcoin Trust. And yeah, hasn't got a ticker yet. I'm sure they'll be going for IETH, same as they've done IBTC. Sort of, the one everyone's going to be thinking of. And yeah, if they get that, then I'm sure even if they sort of get approved at the same time as others, that's just going to be the sort of first go-to ETF for most people. Vanguard obviously are never most likely going to get into this space. They don't even have gold ETFs, so it's not like they're taking an anti-crypto stance. It's just they don't do this sort of thing. They like things with cash flow, and they won't count Ethereum yield as cash flow, I take it. But yeah, this sort of has sparked an awful lot of news. Fees jumped as well on Ethereum, sort of people buying in and sort of getting bullish back on Ethereum. So whether this is just them wanting to not be left behind or sort of get out ahead of potentially other people filing. I don't think Fidelity have got an Ethereum one yet. We don't know, or if this is sort of indicating they know something about the Bitcoin one getting approved. Who knows? But yeah, let's see how this sort of goes in the next couple of months. We're expecting the Bitcoin, a number of the Bitcoin ones, to get approved by 10th of January, if not this year. It's basically all ETF news this week as well. China sort of using their test bed, as people are calling it, Hong Kong, to push an ETF. There's sort of speculation that they want to get this approved, a proper spot Bitcoin ETF, this year to try and get ahead of the US. Obviously, they wouldn't be the first. There's ones in Europe and Canada already, and I believe Australia. I'm not sure if theirs is a spot one. But yeah, Hong Kong one that Chinese could access would be sort of potentially huge, considering they don't sort of think fondly on crypto in general. They sort of still banned the mining, even though a lot of mining still goes on there. But yeah, sort of using Hong Kong as a sort of guinea pig, if you like, see if it goes well, and sort of not wanting to be left behind in the crypto side. They certainly don't seem to be into futures. They have got a Hong Kong futures ETF, but Asia Pacific at the moment is 0.2% of global volume. South America is a sort of tiny percentage. Even Europe is only 15%, and then US 83.5%. So, yeah, Hong Kong aren't particularly into that, it seems. Whether they'd be more into a spot ETF remains to be seen. But be really interesting to see if this comes before Christmas and they get out in front, or if the US ones sort of go first and go way before Christmas. And it's broadening out past specific ETFs. It's making its way into commodities, it seems, slowly at least. Although there aren't that many strictly commodity ETFs. Wisdom Tree is sort of, I believe, one of the larger players that do have sort of a specific commodity ETF, which I've never liked because they all sort of generally go up and down at different points in time, so holding one doesn't seem all that good. But Wisdom Tree have taken one of their ETFs, the Enhanced Commodity Strategy Fund, which isn't very big to be fair, but yeah, it could grow. It's got 200 million in assets, and they've said up to 5% of that now can include Bitcoin. The CFTC in America do designate Bitcoin as a commodity, and I think even the SEC have sort of backed down and said Bitcoin is a commodity. So it's now looking like it's going to be in potentially a few commodity ETFs. So if people are sort of putting money into those, hopefully I would expect them to be buying spot Bitcoin and not futures. Well, they're saying 5% of the net assets in Bitcoin futures contracts, but I do wonder if something like the Blackrock ETF goes through, whether they would just buy shares in that. If it's futures, I suppose it's not the end of the world. People still sort of arbitrage the futures and the spot price, so they generally will, I would think, run in tandem sort of going forward. And we've got another Messari report. I don't think I covered Polygon sort of in the previous round, but they're doing quite well, and it's a sort of a smaller but sort of reasonably sized position that I've got. Numbers looking pretty good as well. Sort of don't, as I say, don't look at market cap too much. Look at fundamentals and daily active addresses at 364,000. So this is one of the highest of them all at the moment, and it's not dropping compared to sort of a lot of other chains. The Cardano and XRP as well, and Solana, I think, all sort of were dropping in daily active addresses, and Polygon doesn't seem to be. Transactions sort of same as last quarter, but a little bit down on the peak. That's not too bad. Supply stayed the same. TVL has come down a little bit, but that's in dollars. So yeah, compared to sort of previous quarters, not a huge surprise. NFT sales volume up 50% from last quarter. So, and that's just continually up. 0.8 million in Q3 2022, up to 1.1, 1.9, 2 million, and then up 50%. And daily gaming addresses is down, but yeah, I never really saw Polygon as a sort of particularly big gaming token. It sort of seems to be more businessy, if you like. There's some interesting figures here as well. New addresses is sort of fairly steady, so new people coming into the ecosystem, but returning addresses is also steady and is a new high for this quarter. So that's good. People aren't. It's not like people are dropping off and it's new people replacing them. The people are staying, and it's being added to. So that's good. The successful transactions, as I say, sort of level, but unsuccessful transactions is coming down significantly. Again, quarter over quarter, quite consistently. So that's good. You don't want unsuccessful transactions. Active contracts is down a bit. New contracts deployed is down, but that's sort of fluctuating all over the place. It's up 50% on sort of this time last year, so that's pretty good. Validators sort of was staying the same, but they've added 4. So yeah, nice moves. Yeah, maybe it is a gaming token. The gaming sector is responsible for 51% of transactions, followed by DeFi at 34%, social at 10%, and NFTs for 5%. I mean, sort of a lot of the news you see about it is partnerships with sort of large Web 2, as they call it, or sort of traditional large companies, tech companies, and that sort of thing. But yeah, it looks like it is actually getting used sort of more for gaming than that sort of thing. The NFT side is only 5%. Part of those additional validators moving up to 104 is Google Cloud, so that's a good addition. Google Cloud seem to be sort of dabbling in all sorts of blockchains, so yeah, them opening up a validator is good news. But yeah, I won't go through everything because, quite frankly, there's an awful lot of in-depth stuff in here and sort of technical stuff that I'll, as I say, I'll be the first to admit goes a bit over my head. I'm more sort of the investor type and look at the numbers, but yeah, it's good to see them sort of improving and still making partnerships. New NFT partnership with DraftKings, so pretty good. The sort of gaming and gambling side is obviously lucrative. People willing to gamble are presumably willing to get into crypto as well. And yeah, it's got potential. I've sort of always been a little doubtful of the Ethereum layer 2s. This is basically my only one. And yeah, I was sort of considering swapping them out for another token, but yeah, I guess if the numbers look good, then hold on to it. And I've sort of said I've basically made my bed with what I've got in crypto at the moment. I don't think I'm going to be sort of making too much switches. And whether this is sort of due to the ETF hype and people sort of getting back into ETH, or it was just sort of a dull period, who knows? But Ethereum has gone back into deflationary mode, certainly over the last 7 days at least. So 8,168 ETH down over the last 7 days, which is good. Last sort of 30 days, you can see it really was just continually ticking up, not a lot being burnt, and it sort of has leveled off for a couple of weeks, and yeah, now last week on the downtrend. So the what I sort of thought was this leveling off and start of potentially a longer uptrend. I never sort of really believed that. I always sort of thought going into the end of the year and into next year, if we sort of got more bullish times, then this wouldn't just sort of continue up. But I was kind of waiting for it to maybe continue up a little bit more and then make that trade for a little bit of Bitcoin. But it's looking like that's not going to happen now. It even sort of has rocketed up on the Ethereum ETF news, sort of fell back a little bit, but sort of come out to the daily or even to the weekly. The large wedge pattern that I've sort of been watching for quite a while. Yeah, it sort of dropped out of there ever so slightly. Often sort of does this in wedges, or maybe even you could draw the wedge a little bit lower, depending on sort of price or exchange you use. And it's come back into the wedge, or admittedly right at the bottom. I still sort of kind of think if we do get a Bitcoin ETF approval, obviously Bitcoin presumably will rocket up, and maybe Ethereum doesn't rocket up quite so much. So yeah, I do think there is still potential for coming back down, maybe even below the wedge a little bit, and I might be able to make that trade, but we'll see. If I don't get to make that trade, then I'm fine. I'll just hold both and see where each go in the bull market. So, coins for the week, as I'm sure you can guess, it's just a green wall across the board, but some rather a lot more than others. Bitcoin up 7%, so that's not actually the biggest monetary gainer. It normally is, even if it isn't the big percentage gainer. The biggest monetary gainer actually is Solana, and it's moved into my, I haven't moved it up here, but it's moved into my second position on paper. I should sort of confess that I don't actually have 784 Sol in just liquid Sol. I actually have pretty much all of that in NFTs, and they currently aren't worth 784 Sol. I'm sort of not counting that loss until I sell them, and sort of expecting at some point the gain in Sol to be sort of people get bullish and recycle that into NFTs and then start coming up again. So, and for just not wanting to annoy the sort of tax calculations on my portfolio tracker and things, I just leave that as 784 Sol. So yeah, that's obviously been doing well. That's up 47% for the week. That's the biggest gainer. Ethereum on the news up 10.6%, so that's pretty good. Chainlink just rocketing as well, 33% up. Loving the sort of CCIP connections to everything sort of news. That's still getting lots and lots of articles about it and sort of making its way into the mainstream. Cardano 18% up, that's good. XRP 9, not really sort of pumping just yet. Power Legend 9, Matic, whether it's sort of on the back of the Ethereum news and fees rocketing up. That's up 24%. Audius just under 12, Quant 8.5%. Basic attention token has sort of had a bit of a bump today. It's looking like that's 18% up. Gala 26%. Wondering whether they've sort of settled their differences and sort of risen up. I do need to have a look at the news. It's only a small position, so I don't really keep too up to date with that. VeChain 12.9% up. I think that's just about going green, 1.85% depending on which exchange you use. And Internet Computer 12.5% up. So yeah, this has, as I say, got to come to an end at some point, I'm sure. Whether people sort of want to take profits and it'll take a rest, or maybe we get I think the ETF, Bitcoin ETF deadlines are this week, so if they get delayed again, then yeah, I'm sure you might get a little bit of a pullback, but I mean, it's only delayed until everyone's thinking January the 10th, which is the ARC final date. So yeah, anything could happen in the next week, really. But yeah, let me know what you guys are, if you're buying anything, if you're taking profits, or you know, just holding for the long term. And like and subscribe. See you soon.